Welcome to SHI's Research Breakdown, where we turn complex research into quick conversations that matter to your business. Today's conversation draws on Information Week's article, The Year Tech Reinvents Itself, 5 Predictions for 2026, as well as an article from Investor Place titled Tech Predictions for 2026, The Year Software Crawls into Physical Reality, both of which featured in the January 23rd issue of the Research Roundup LinkedIn newsletter. The Information Week article looks at edge computing, the importance of fibre and satellite for high-speed communications, policy and domestic production as they relate to broadband, data infrastructure and chip production, partnerships and ecosystems to support transformation, and workforce reskilling as a differentiator. The Investor Place article explores humanoid robots, autonomous vehicles, and AI chips. This resulted in a wide-ranging discussion that addresses how we can cut through the noise about shiny technology and focus on resiliency, core competencies, and knowing who you are. I'm Victoria Barber. I head up the Strategic Insights function here at SHI, and today I'm joined by 2 of my colleagues from SHI's Strategic Technology Office, Brad Pollard, Field CTO, and Marc Yoder, Field CISO, to discuss which of these predictions really matter and which are distractions, something they both have strong opinions about. Now, 2 of the key themes shared between these articles are around chips. One of them around the domestic chip production, the other around AI chips and NVIDIA's dominance, or maybe the challenges to NVIDIA's dominance in this market, and also the power requirements for data centers. So, Marc, how about we start there?
Yeah, and I'm not even sure it's going to be how do we power the data centers, right? I mean, I think when you get to infrastructure levels, even our largest customers, even the largest organization that you may work for is probably not going to be able to steer or impact that destruction, other than maybe building your partnerships around resiliency, and have multiple partners that have the ability to maybe move when things get difficult. And it's, do you have a partner that has the ability? I think that the strong are going to get stronger, right? And the rich are going to get richer in this market because the large players like SHI, they can get you those devices, are probably still going to be able to get you those devices. If you're using smaller vendors or some of these niche vendors or some of these niche players, they may get squeezed out when things get tight. I mean, we think about the most human kind of practical level. When food and water are scarce, the strong end up with food and water. And it may seem a little Orwellian, but at the end of the day, I think organizations have to look at who's going to be able to provide them the very basic services they need. And that's even assuming that an organization can identify what their organization key activities or key needs are. And so I think that would just be my advice. Very fundamentally understand what your business does, what your core competencies and requirements are. Do you have those locked down with resiliency? If I had to make that decision now, I would say we've gone all in on efficiency, and AI has a lot to do with that. But I would say 2026, I would have an eye on resiliency as well.
Yeah.
That's a good, Marc. All those points sort of, it's the Venn diagram of these 2 big topics we're kind of covering, right? There's sort of this partner ecosystem, which is really filling gaps in skills you don't have, right? And the other side of that is distraction. A lot of the technologies that are out there are just distractions. People always want something new, and no one's curating what they already have, to your point about core competency and resiliency. And the conversation that I had yesterday with a CIO, CEO sent him an article highlighting that one of their competitors, one of their peers, is using AI and has saved this much money. He highlighted that one line in the article. What he didn't highlight was the 2 lines underneath it that said it was a 3.5-year journey, right? He wants the $1 million a year savings, but doesn't want to do the 3.5-year journey. Right. And that's the struggle that I think we're falling with everybody all the time, is there's this distraction around, what do you want to do? Stop telling me you want to do it with AI. Tell me what happens when you sit down at your desk and you want to do something and you can't do it. Then tell me why you think AI is going to solve that problem. But honestly, what's your business? What's your core competency? And what's missing? And what it always turns out to be is our data's a mess.
Yeah.
It's not that AI is the answer, it's that our data is the problem. And so you can use AI to kind of fix your data problem, right? You can put metadata around unstructured data, or you can be doing something else, but the strategies aren't there. I want this magic wand and I want to fix it.
How long has data been the problem for? I mean, how long have we all been
Forever.
talking about
Forever.
data
Yeah.
being the problem, and yet everybody is still ignoring it? They want the new shiny thing, and they're hoping that the new shiny thing will make the big, nasty, stinking mess of data just go away, or at least people will ignore it for a while because they've got the new shiny distraction.
Yeah, and it's always been that way. Efficiency and automation, whether we're talking about AI at kind of the current model or humanoid robotics, which are super interesting. That's the sci-fi stuff. That's great. But any technology, when you talk about automation, what are you automating? And the things that we are able to have quick hits on, if you think about who uses robotics and have for several decades, it's very well defined, very repeatable, low data environments like manufacturing. Who's using AI very well? It's very predictable chatbots where you have the data that you need. It's a very mapped out process. And what we're finding is people get so enamored, like Brad said, of that headline. We saved, $1 million. Okay, so now let's use it to automate. We're not sure what. I had a customer that was talking about wanting to automate a process. And I said, okay, well, pull the process up on a slide. Let's look at it on the screen and work through this. Well, we don't have that process documented.
Yeah.
So you don't have the data to even begin solving the problem. But I think this is what we're seeing. There is no magic, right? Yeah.
No, exactly. And it's interesting as well that, I mean, it was in one of these reports, but this whole thing, everybody's getting very excited about autonomous vehicles. They've been using them in mining for decades because it's too dangerous to send people into these places. So autonomous vehicles are not new. They're just new in the environment we're putting them into. So a lot of the stuff that looks to us like science fiction suddenly magically becoming real has, as you say, been in manufacturing in particular for a very long time because they've had the need for this. It does seem that gaming and manufacturing are quite often the places that these innovations come from because that's where people will spend the money on them.
And not only the necessity, but to use your example again, I think it just further illustrates my point. Why are autonomous vehicles so easy in a mine? Because they go from point A to point B in a relatively straight line. There's nothing dynamic, shouldn't be about the
And
environment.
there are no people there.
There's not people, right? So you're going to go from point A to point B.
Yeah.
That's pretty easy to automate.
No, I mean, I think this is just a general thought about trends, and I'll go back to Mark's thing about distraction. This is for CEOs, CFOs, COOs, CIOs, everybody in the C-suite. Like, know who you are. You got to know what context you're working in, and chasing certain technologies. If you don't have your blocking and tackling, if you haven't got the bottom of the pyramid right, the foundation of your infrastructure, or your core competencies, or the resiliency around those things, the stuff that's in the trends newsletters are big distractions. And I think we hear that a lot from the people we talk to, which is, I got to have an answer for this so I can get back to keeping the lights on, so I can get back to running my business, because this is the new shiny thing that somebody wants to say we're doing. Meanwhile, the foundations are crumbling behind me. So like there's this balance between, okay, here's the new shiny toy, but who are we? Like as an organization, and how are we doing? Honestly, not a lot of companies really have a good bearing on who they are. They know who they want to be, or at least what they want people to think they are, but they are really distracted from doing the journeyman work, the really hard stuff of getting these foundational things taken care of. I mean, I would love to see every CIO out there getting rid of tech debt from the past 15 years of sprawl, right? Rather than, okay, I want to bring in some more stuff.
And also, focus on when you're thinking about all of this technology, focus on what, as you've talked about, core competencies, what you're supposed to be doing, and bring the partners in to do the stuff that they're good at. Because this whole, we're going to build our own AI solution to this or whatever.
You're not building it. I mean, let's just be honest. This is my hot take, and it only represents myself. Have we done those caveats that whatever insanity that I spew represents me and may not represent my employer or anyone with half a brain? But people shouldn't be building AI solutions any more than they should be building their own power plants at this point, right? So, if you want to take your eye off of AI and make real progress, I would recommend that you look to your vendors. I have CISOs ask me, how can I leverage AI? It's going to be through your vendors. It's going to be through your technology partners. They're already building integration into those platforms. So
This is one of the things I think Mark and I deal with a lot. I mean, I talked to a CIO yesterday who came to one of our EBCs, and I basically, in one of my presentations, said, here are the three things you need to ask about transformation. Do you really want to transform? Right. And the last thing was, do you understand what that means? And he said to me, my CEO does not understand what that means. And we have the conversation. I use this analogy all the time about transformation is the caterpillar to a butterfly. When a caterpillar goes in a cocoon, it completely liquefies itself and becomes something else. And does your CEO want to do that? Or does he want to be a caterpillar with some bolted on wings? Right. And the reality is nobody wants to go through transformation. They don't want to give up what they do. They don't want to do a completely new thing because it's not comfortable. Right? I mean, a lot of what we're doing is having these strategic conversations with people. And what they want, what this particular CIO wanted was, hey, can you talk to my CEO and tell him the butterfly thing? Because he's been saying it and he can't get the point across. And it's like, what do you really want? And it is, there's no way to know it all anymore. You need partners that have specialization. You need partners with diversity of experience. You need those lessons learned because you're moving at a pace that is so unrelenting that, you need someone there to kind of offload that to.
yeah, no, Brad, I think understanding who you are. I heard a brilliant high school student named Brian Johnson once from Shermer High School ask that very question: Who am I? Right. So as an organization, you have to ask yourself, who are you? And it's not this giant existential question, but as an organization, who are you trying to be, and what do you need to do that?
I'm still reeling from all the Gen X Easter eggs you leave throughout these conversations.
You can
How
see
da-
it with the pen, right? Who
how
am I?
how
Who am I?
dare you ask me who I am?
Know your audience, Brad.
Thank you both so much for joining us for such an insightful discussion. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. And please join us for the next episode where Brad, Marc, and I continue the discussion of these prediction articles, focusing on the topics of reskilling and quantum computing. You can find more episodes of the Research Breakdown wherever you get your podcasts and sign up for the Research Roundup on SHI's LinkedIn page. SHI Media, you heard it here.